Everyone, welcome to another Classic Movie Monday. I apologize that I had to delay Monday's video up until now. Unfortunately, my brain was sort of hurting yesterday. I had a headache. So when you have a headache, it's hard to think and write stuff down and figure out exactly what you want to do. So I kind of had to delay Monday's video as a result. But without further ado, let me address what I want to talk about for this particular Classic Movie Monday, and that's the film Groundhog Day. Ironically, today is Groundhog Day, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it is February 2nd when Groundhog Day takes place. In case you are unfamiliar with the holiday of Groundhog Day, basically it's designed to be about a groundhog who, I guess, somebody, at least within the United States, picks to determine whether or not there's going to be, I believe it's 6 more weeks of winter, if I'm not mistaken. And the way they tell this is whether or not the groundhog can see its shadow. If it sees its shadow, then I believe it's either or. Either it's 6 more weeks of winter or it isn't. I can't exactly remember if it's. I think if it does show its shadow, that it's spring. But I could be wrong. I kind of get confused on which one is which. But that's kind of how the holiday works. It's kind of an unusual holiday, to say the least. I don't know if really any other countries really celebrate this holiday, because it is a little ridiculous and kind of just a little goofy, to say the least. I mean, I think the groundhog is a cute little animal, kind of, a little gerbil. I mean, the face with the teeth is kind of not as pleasant, but the whole like fur and whatnot, it's like, oh, you look so cute, you little gerbil. But basically, the film Groundhog Day obviously does center around Groundhog Day and the day of Groundhog Day. And it follows the main character of Phil, who is played by none other than Bill Murray. And the important thing I think you need to note in regards to Bill Murray is that this film is probably one of his most famous films. It's definitely the one where I think he got a lot of recognition, and probably one where it really did help foster his career as an actor. But in this film, he plays Phil, who is a TV weatherman who goes to where they're having a huge celebration for Groundhog Day, and they're going to sort of announce whether or not there's going to be 6 more weeks of winter. And I believe if they see the shadow, it's 6 more weeks of winter, but I could be wrong. I just get confused on which one's which. But anyway, basically, on this day of Groundhog Day, Phil goes out to do his whole sort of TV spot for the holiday, and eventually what ends up happening is once the day is over, he wakes up and it's Groundhog Day again. So basically, throughout the entire film, he's sort of repeating Groundhog Day. So every day he wakes up, it's Groundhog Day. And the way in which they showcase this entire kind of ridiculous scenario really does work to this film's advantage, because obviously there are films that have tried to do sort of a similar setup, but not executed in the way in which I think this film really presents the whole concept. Because the way in which Phil is presented as a character, and how he sort of goes through the various scenarios of the different days onto which he is constantly experiencing Groundhog Day as the same day over and over again, you sort of see this kind of the highs and lows of that, and how he goes through each day, and how he kind of gets used to waking up and it being the same exact day, and you sort of see this kind of the tragedy as well. So it really does jive itself well in trying to really play around with all of these different emotions, and really giving you a sense of Phil as a character. And although he is fairly cynical and he has sort of an ego about him, you do see that there is a lot of genuine heart to him, and he eventually sort of kind of opens up eventually within the film, and you really start seeing him sort of doing good deeds for other people, and uh, it really does provide you what a good, wholesome, down-to-earth film provides to its audience. You know, it gets across to you the 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 whole concept in a way that's, again, it's not designed to be really magical or anything. You know, it's not like he was just suddenly placed with a curse. He just woke up and it was Groundhog Day again, and then and you know, he just kind of deals with it. And at points he does have various conflicts, and sometimes he gets very down on himself, as you'll see within the film. But eventually he kind of gets out of it, and you sort of see all of the different characters within this film and who he encounters and who ends up sort of being important to him, and you know how he sort of gets up every day thinking it's sort of a new day, even though he's sort of reliving the exact same day. And I think this is just a great concept and a great message to kind of get across to people. And you really do not see a lot of these really down to earth, kind of wholesome styles of filmmaking anymore. A lot of it nowadays is really based upon spectacle and trying to awe the audience with, you know, whatever special effects and whatever action sequences, you know, you can throw at an audience, but never about really true, honest human uh, connection. And here you really do sense that within Phil's character and the way he interacts with all the other characters as well. So it's a really nice, simple film, but in doing so, it still says so much about how we sort of handle life and how we deal with various things, um, and sort of what we would do with ourselves if we happen to be living the exact same day over and over and over again. Um, and I think it's definitely a worthy film of recommendation. But I think that's really all I can say about it without really giving too much away. But I would be more than happy to hear what anybody else has to say. If there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye.